Hey, good morning. Happy Sunday. I woke early again. I think it's just the fact that when your body gets in routines, it just happens. You wake up even on days that you could sleep in. I'm going to early morning church, but I always, when I wake early, I try to get in a message. Sundays are filled with, I don't know, binge watching sermon after sermon after sermon. I just really love doing that on Sundays, getting some good food and just doing that all day long. So anyways, the message that I received this morning was on grief. Yeah, but it was on good grief. And this is so, there's so much here to talk about. And, when grief is not just when someone passes. We kind of associate grief with death. But grief really is about loss. And for the past almost 4 years now, I have been grieving a loss in my life. And I have waves that hit me, waves of pain. And this message this morning was so fitting, actually, because yesterday I was down. God did great things yesterday. But you have moments where you're flooded with memories. You're flooded with good times. But you're also flooded with bad times. You just have memories. And, this gets me emotional, so I have to watch it and stay together because this message is so, so good. So I watched Darius Daniels, and it was on Good Grief Part 2. And the one thing he left the message with is what I will start it with. Is your healing is about your perspective, how you see it. It's how you look at it. It's the way you think about it. It's, the one thing about grief that you can't do is forget that and push it away and just put it in a box on a shelf or put it in a drawer in a filing cabinet. You really have to process, guys, those emotions. And in order to get unstuck from living in the past and moving forward, is that you really have to process that. You have to process the loss. And Darius broke it down into 4 sections. And the one thing that I want to tell you guys is that Jesus wept. You are not weak when you cry. Crying is healing. To stay crying all the time, or you can't get yourself together, that's not so much good. And if you do that, then you need to seek professional help, because you probably are depressed. And if you're in a stuck and emotional state and you can't get yourself out of it, and you're just ruminating constantly, and you're living in a really dark place and you can't move forward, you need to seek professional counseling and help, so that people can work with you through that. But to grieve, good grief, you have to really experience that pain. And he breaks it down into 4 things, and I'll do that. But the best thing you can do is to really go listen to that message instead of me. But these are things that I take from the message, and things that, hit me personally, and things that I've done. But the first thing he said is that you have to be authentic. You have to really own what's hurting you. You have to, and I've said this before, you have to go before the Lord. Or if you don't believe, if you don't do that, then you have to go before somebody or you have to write it out, or you have to speak it out, but you have to get it out, okay? Everything that you're feeling, you just have to get out. It doesn't have to sound pretty. It doesn't have to sound good. Most likely it's not going to. I mean, you're hurting, guys. And so you need to be real and honest about those feelings. You know, it's not like you probably are going to do that, or that's not who you are, but emotions are raw and they're real. And, you know, even David talked about things in Psalm 109 where, you know, you have to just go read that, but he talked about, you know, that he hopes all this bad stuff happens to this person. And like, you know, but the thing about, you know, God said that David was a man after his own heart. Even after in Psalm 109:6, and all that David did wrong, God said he was a man after his own heart. Because he was honest, he was real, he was authentic. He you know, but he poured it out in front of the Lord, and he gave it to him. And he says, I can trust that guy. He might not be all good, but I can trust him. He might have not done all good, but I can trust him. He comes before me and he pours it out. So his pure heart is not so much that he hasn't done bad things or said bad things. It's just that he goes before the Lord and deals with that and gives it to him, and you know, God restores his heart. So, you know, God restores his heart. He doesn't necessarily restore all of his life because consequences, guys, for what we do is real, okay? When we do wrong and when we sin, God can still love us and he can forgive us, but we do have consequences for that. And that's something we have to accept. That's hard. But that's God is a God of just. I mean, he is fair, and he also shows favor. Sometimes we get things not to happen to us because God shows favor on us. And you know, it's why when we say it is by God's grace alone that I'm not where I should be, maybe where others should be with what I've done. But anyway, let's get back to being authentic. So if you are emotionally distraught, if you have lost a loved one, if you've lost a relationship, if you've lost a job, you know, you have to pour it all out. Everything. Get it out. Get it out and get it out with God. So that was the first step. And we can't heal what we don't feel. And we can't heal what we don't reveal. Okay, so to get healing, you have to get real. You have to get authentic. You have to feel everything, and you have to reveal your whole heart. You know, God knows it anyway, so you got to get the ugliness out. And believe me, when you are hurt, there's ugliness in there. When you're hurting, there's ugliness in there. But the only way to heal it is to get it out and let God deal with that. The second thing he said was acceptance is okay. So this happened. It might not be what I want to have happened, but it happened. And because I trust God, I have to just know that there's a reason for it. And, you know, some people grieve, you know, this was something you brought up, was like people grieve their youth. Women grieve the loss of the childbearing days. They grieve when they go through the change of life. That's another grieving real process with women. We grieve our physical appearance, and that comes with aging. So, you know, men grieve other things, I'm sure. I'm not a man, so I can't really talk for them. And but, you know, we just grieve things that we can't change. We just can't change. The only thing we can change is how we allow it to affect us and how we look at it. Like our perspective, our mental mind shift. And that's where I said that, you know, if you change your mind, you change your life. And that is so true. And that comes with grieving too. The next one is expectation. It's like, what are we, let's see, go back, what else? I just went blank on expectation with what are you expecting God to do? You know, are you expecting Him to give it back to you? No. Okay. Just what are you expecting? You've got to deal with your expectations. And sometimes we expect things that are impossible, that aren't even what is good for us. And so we have to deal with our expectations. And the last one he said was advancement. But advancement means we really have to be willing to move forward. We have to let the past go. We cannot live in the past. There is no future in the past. There are memories in the past, but you're going to have to get to a place in your life that you don't get the explanation. Why did this happen to me? That is what we always kind of think, at least that's me, like, why did this happen? Like, you have to move forward without explanation. I mean, I can understand parts of why it happened, but and you got to take ownership for it. So the grief that you feel, you also have to say, you know, the loss is like, how did you participate in it? And that's part of being real about it. But no amount of crying, guys, no amount of sadness, no amount of anger, none of it is going to take the grief away. None of it is going to bring it back. And you have to accept that if it was taken and if it's not there anymore, God has greater. Whether He's going to teach you a lot of lessons through this loss, or He's going to heal you. Sometimes we lose things that we just received in a season in our life where we weren't who we needed to be. And so maybe that, and I'm just throwing it out there, maybe that circumstance or that time frame helped you learn and helped you grow. Because in every season, if you are learning, you are growing. And God has an ultimate purpose for your life and mission for your life. And He will put people in your life and situations in your life that will ultimately get you to the point of where He needs you to be. And sometimes that comes with loss. And so I think part of me being able to grieve, and you know, grief has no timetable, okay? Like, it might come back and hit you almost 4 years later. And that's okay. It's okay. What you can't let grief do is to keep you down. It can't immobilize you. It can't paralyze you. You know, when you love, you have, you know, it hurts. And if you didn't love, then you wouldn't care. And so, you know, we do have, it means your heart is still, your heart's not stone. And that's the greatest thing, you know, the perspective is like, oh man, you know, I'm feeling, and it's okay. Thank God I'm not numb. Because if you get to a place of numbness and cold-heartedness and anger and resentment, that means your grief has just turned into something way deeper, and you need to get help. You really need to get a therapist. And that is my advice to you, is grief is real. In order to heal from grief, you've got to feel. It's a process, it's a journey, and it takes time. And don't compare your grieving to someone else's. And it's life that we grieve. Once again, remember that Jesus wept. He felt great sorrow, and we were made in his image. And so do not feel bad if you are hurting. But you can't just pray about it, guys. That's what I want to leave you with. Is sometimes prayer isn't the only answer. Okay, like, of course you're going to pray about it. Lord, help me to get past this, and help me to do what you would have me to do, and put people in my life that will help me. And, you know, but prayer can't be the only thing. Okay, God is the ultimate healer and the great physician. Okay, but you have to take action. You have to do some things to help yourself. You have to move forward. You have to go on. You have to put it in your mindset that this is just a time. This was a learning experience. This was this, whatever. Whatever you want to categorize it in your head. But the one thing, good grief means that you don't stay stuck. You can't stay stuck, guys. It's not, I mean, you have been stuck. Some people have been staying stuck, but don't stay stuck. Take some action. Get yourself unstuck. Join that class, join that Bible study, go to that church you wanted to visit, get a counselor, reach out to that friend. But the greatest thing I tell my kids at school, and I associate a lot of things with kids at school, and you have to get real. You have to feel. You have to acknowledge the pain. You have to process. Okay? There's no running, hiding. I mean, you can do that. People do it. But if you want to heal, you've got to walk through it. And, you know, I don't know about you, but I don't want to stay stuck. Okay? I'm not going to stay stuck. Life was meant for more. And I'm not stuck. I'm not stuck anymore. Yay. I grieved. I have good grief. I've done the hard work. I've done the process. And God has delivered me. However, I'm human. And I will cry at times. And I will be sad. And I will mourn the loss of what I once had. And that doesn't mean that I don't have good things now. God replaces things and gives you other things. And, you know, the ultimate thing is trusting Him. And I trust Him with my life. And I hope that one day you trust Him with yours too. And I hope you have a happy Sunday. Yeah, so have a good day.